Hey guys, Jim here, coming back with another video. Today I wanted to do a video response for a great member here of the YouTube community, and that is Scott over at Stukes Baseball Cards and Curiosities. Scott, he has a great channel, and he's also very supportive throughout the YouTube community here. He's just got an amazing collection, and not just baseball cards, which we all love, but he's got programs, yearbooks, pins, all kinds of autographs, photos, just a lot of great stuff that you don't see all the time, and a lot of stuff that I love to see. And yeah, he's just a really nice guy. So if you're not familiar with the channel, I would recommend going over to check him out. As always, the link is in the description. But what he's doing is he's doing a contest, and he wants people to do video responses. And what he wants to hear about is our favorite interactions with professional athletes. So I have a couple. I've had several interactions with professional athletes over the years, but there's a couple that really stick out and stand out to me, and they're just interactions that I will forever remember. And so I've actually talked about both of these before at one point in time or another, but I have not talked about them often. And so the first interaction I want to talk about is it was back in the year 2000. And the New England Patriots, they practiced their preseason in Smithfield, Rhode Island. Now, I was born and raised in Rhode Island, lived there most of my life until about 15, 16 years ago, I moved to Connecticut. But before that, I lived in Rhode Island my whole life. And Smithfield, Rhode Island was only about a half an hour from where we lived. So back in 2000, my oldest son was 4 years old, and I decided I was going to take him over to watch the Patriots practice. They had things for the kids to play on, like rides and different games and things like that. And of course, you could watch the practices, and it was just kind of like a fun time to hang out and watch some football and see some players, and it was a good time. So I decided to take my son. Off we went. With me, I had not the mini helmets, but like the next size up. It was a helmet. It was just a small Patriots helmet. So I thought, it would be cool. Maybe we can get some autographs, something like that, and see if we could do that. So off we went, headed over to Smithfield, Rhode Island, watched the practice, and weather turned bad. Started raining, downpouring, heavy rains. We got there, and naturally, the Patriots were still practicing. They didn't care if it was raining, snowing, fire. They don't care. They're going to practice. So, yeah, they were practicing, and, it wasn't a lot of people there, and, it was raining. My son was young, and, I was in my 20s at the time. So, I didn't care about the rain. And we watched the practice, and after the practice had ended, the rain kind of let up, and they had like barriers set up. And so most of the players were running through, going to the, wherever they had a locker room, and everyone came off, and then the equipment cart was coming off the field, and there was mud because it had rained so much. The equipment cart actually got stuck in the mud. So, I was just kind of standing there. Most everyone was pretty much gone, and I was standing there, my little son, and the equipment cart was there, and they were, trying to get it unstuck from the mud. And there was a player who I didn't know who he was literally standing shoulder to shoulder right next to me. And he was kind of standing there, kind of helping, but just more watching like I was. And I looked at him, and he looked at me, and he saw that I was holding this helmet, and he looked at my son, and he said, "Hey, do you want me to sign that for you?" And I had no idea who he was. Back at that time, Drew Bledsoe was the quarterback for the Patriots. Michael Bishop was the backup quarterback. Many people liked him. And I obviously knew he was a player, but I said, what the heck? I didn't want to say, oh no, I don't know who you are, I don't want you to sign this. I just said, sure, why not? So I handed it to him. He signed it, handed it back over to me. And that was great. I thanked him, good luck, all that stuff. And they got the equipment caught out of the mud and got that off. And this particular player actually ran back out onto the field with several other players that ran out there with him, and they're throwing the football around now or running plays or whatever. No coaches, no other teammates. There was only about a handful of guys out there. And they're throwing the football around and playing. Turns out that player was Tom Brady. Didn't know him, didn't know who he was back then. He didn't emerge until 2001 when Drew Bledsoe got hurt. But, it was just really cool, and you could just tell, like, he was so young, and he was just innocent, and he just looked at me. He was just happy to be there, and hey, you want me to sign that for you? And I was like, yeah, sure. And he was more than happy to sign it and handed it back to me, gave a smile to my kid, and I'll never forget that. My son, he's 27 now, but he still has that helmet, and it was just a great memory. My son, he probably doesn't even really remember it. Like I said, he was only 4 years old, but I don't even need the helmet. I gave it to him. It was his always, and I've got the memory of it, and that's what's really so cool to me. And so obviously Brady went on to have such a great career, and who would have known, But so that is that interaction that I had with Tom Brady. I've had other interactions with other players too, but another interaction that I've had several different times with this player, a former player, and that is Bill Lee, the spaceman. I have met and spoken with him on several different occasions. There is a card show that they have in Rhode Island annually, and typically he goes and he works the room, man. That guy, he loves to talk to people. He loves to talk about baseball. He's a baseball lifer, a true lifer. He just loves the game, man. He just loves the game. And he has stories. He's the kind of guy you can sit around and talk to for hours. And just all kinds of stories. So cool. The last time that I met with him was last year, and he actually gave me this. This is what they call the Buffalo Head Gang, and that is from here is Bernie Cabo, Jim Willoughby, Fergie Jenkins, Rick Wise, and Bill Lee. Now he handed this to me, he gave it to me, and then after I was talking to him for a while, he said, "Oh, let me see that." And he took it back from me and he signed it. So that was really cool. He talked about these guys, he in-depth, personal, talked about how they came about. The way they came about is because they all had a hatred for Don Zimmer. And apparently Fergie Jenkins would put up photos of a buffalo with Don Zimmer's head on it. So that's how the Buffalo Head Gang came about, the name. But they just despised of Zimmer. They didn't like the way he handled the pitching staff. They didn't like the way he managed the team. Bill Lee actually called him the gerbil. And he talked about that. He talked about his love for these guys. They are great friends to this day. He told me a very personal story about Bernie Cabo. Bernie Cabo struggled for many, many years with drug and alcohol problems. And according to Bill Lee, he claims that Bernie Cabo had a handgun in his hand and was going to kill himself. And Bill Lee claims that he talked him not only out of killing himself, but also into going to rehab and getting off drugs and alcohol. And I don't know if that story is completely true, but I do know that Bernie Cabo did have a big drug and alcohol problem, and I do know that he has turned his life around. He's a minister. He goes around the country preaching to youth about the horrors of drug and alcohol problems, and he talks about his own issues, and he gives credit to Billy and Sam McDowell in helping turn his life around. So it was just really crazy to hear him talk about that story. We talked about politics. We talked about the 75 World Series. Again, we talked about Don Zimmer. We talked about the mismanagement of the Red Sox in the late 70s. Just really had some great conversations, and I really truly enjoy talking with him and listening to his stories and his conversations. He talked about his time with the Savannah Bananas. He talked about playing semi-professional baseball up in Vermont. And he also talked about some of his ventures that he's into now. He's actually the owner of a baseball bat company and equipment company in Fall River, Massachusetts. And he's just a great guy to talk to. I look forward to the next time I see him. And yeah, it was just the several conversations I've had with him have just been tremendous. And I actually had a video several years ago with a short 3 or 4 minute interview that I did with him. I'm gonna leave that at the end of this video. So if you're new to my channel over the last several years and you've never seen that, please check that out. But other than that, those are my 2 stories. I have a couple of other interactions with other professional athletes as well. I had a really nice interaction with Mark Van Egan. I actually did a big HVAC job for him at his house, and I interacted with him multiple times over the course of several days. Great guy as well. But that was more on a personal, professional level. I didn't even talk to him about any of his football career or anything like that. I strictly kept it professional. But I'm going to cut this short now. Check out the interview with Bill Lee from several years ago, and check out Stukes Baseball Cards and Curiosities. Great guy. That's all I got, guys. I always appreciate the support. Take care, and bye for now. Hey guys, I'm here with the man, the myth, the legend, Bill Lee, 14-year Major League player with the Boston Red Sox and Montreal Expos. How we doing today, Bill?
I'm vertical.
That's always a plus.
Kind of, but I'm sitting, so.
That's always a plus. Now, you're still playing ball, is that correct?
This Sunday at 11 o'clock at the Berry Farm in Charlotte. Tickets are on sale right now. They're $0.
Oh, that's very nice.
All you got to do is show up. It's hard to find the Berry Farm. It's off a dirt road.
Where is it now?
In northern Vermont.
Northern Vermont.
But everything's off a dirt road. We have more dirt roads than any other state in the Union.
Absolutely, absolutely. That sounds pretty awesome. I would actually really love to watch you play. How's that going?
We're in second place. We lost to the #1 team 2 weeks ago. A team called CVU. I lost to a AA pitcher that used to be with the Red Sox called Ethan Merrill.
Oh.
And he's 46 or 47 years old, and I'm 74 years old. And
that's
they beat
amazing.
me because the little bastards punted on me.
74 years old and still going out there playing.
Yeah, and I can get to the ball. I just have trouble picking up the Easter egg.
That's what keeps you young, right? Keep playing.
Well, it does. I'll probably die on a field, but I just hope it ain't the Berry field.
Yeah, maybe you'll have a smile on your face when you do it.
Well, I probably will.
That's good. That's good. So I can remember right around the mid-70s, 75, 76, I was just getting into baseball at the time as a very young kid. And I just loved those Red Sox teams back then, and you were definitely one of my favorites playing.
Thank you,
So those were some good times. So thinking back to that, did you have a favorite teammate or someone that you really enjoyed playing with back then? Or?
Well, we had a group called the Buffalo Head Gang.
Okay.
It was Rick Wise, Ferguson Jenkins, Bernie Carbo, Jim Willoughby, and myself. And we kind of all hung out together, and we were best friends. And we all got traded, and the Red Sox fortunes kind of declined after that.
Yeah, they did for a while.
Fergie tore his Achilles tendon, and I got in the brawl in '76, and they just kind of whittled us down.
Yeah. Well, that was very unfortunate. Of course, the Red Sox management was not so great back then.
Well, it was in transition.
Yeah.
Guys were dying. Yawkey died, Mrs. Yawkey, and Haywood took it over, and then they fought with Buddy LaRue, and then they had to sell it in the Harrington Trust, and then finally John Henry bought them, and they turned the corner. And in '04 they won it, and '07 they won it, and '13 they won it, and '18 they won it, and all's right with the world.
That was true. I'll never forgive Haywood Sullivan for letting Freddie Lynn and Fisk
and Burleson, all three of them.
Just let them walk.
Wasn't that sad?
That was terrible.
It was terrible.
I'll never forget it.
Gutted our ball club.
Absolutely.
And then they sent me to Montreal for Stan Pappy.
And that was the tragedy.
It was a tragedy.
It really was. Speaking of Montreal, how did you enjoy playing in Montreal?
Loved it.
I bet.
I stayed. I played 4 years for them, and I loved it. I got a wife out of it, a new wife. I got a daughter, moved to Vermont, built a farm, and basically retired about exactly 100 kilometers from Montreal.
Very, very nice, very nice. Montreal, I really would like to see them get a team back again.
I've been working on it.
I think that's a great place to have a major league team, and it was too bad that, it didn't work out over there for the Expos, but hopefully...
Especially '94 when they were leading the league, and the strike came, and then the fans never came back. And Brofman basically got rid of the team. He gave it to Claude Brochu, and Claude Brochu ran it in the ground, spent the luxury tax that they were supposed to get, didn't invest, and then they took the team away from them.
Yeah, it was very unfortunate. Hopefully one day it will come back. And so you have some very nice memorabilia here.
It's all my life. It's I got T-shirts, I have hats, got things that I have a wine company. My son's a graphic designer. I've made 4 documentaries. I got books, and I work for Axis Bat in Fall River, Massachusetts. So I make bats, and you can go there and get the Bill Lee bats with the big knobs, and I teach kids how to hit.
So, do you have a website or anything like that where if
Just
anybody...
Axis, A-X-I-S.
Axis.com.
.com.
So if anybody's interested in buying any of your
Everything right there, yeah.
Very good, very good.
I'm going to have an office down there. It'll be a little museum to my career in Fall River, and that's where I'll probably end up in the business side of the thing.
That's awesome. Yeah, that's awesome. Well, I really appreciate your taking a few minutes to speak with me. I very much enjoyed the conversation.
Thank you very much.
And good luck with you.
Thank you.
Thank you.